Hello everyone, this is Moni. Welcome to the third part of my Antistasi Community Guide. Today we will learn the different kinds of zones in Antistasi Community version 2.3. Let's get into it. The first zone we will be discussing is towns. Towns are identified on the map by a skyscraper icon like so. Towns give their controller money in the form of taxes and HR. You will gain +1 HR per every 100 civilians under your influence. It is halved if you do not own the town the civilians are controlled in. Towns are one of the only ways to gain HR, and are also unique in the way they need to be captured. While in other zones you take by force, towns instead choose who they are loyal to. This is shown by the support indicator in map info. You gain support in towns by killing enemy soldiers and by completing supply missions. The owner of the radio tower also gains a passive bonus to support, +1 to your support and -1 to the enemy support per tick. To flip the town, you simply have to have more support than the government in said town. Since the enemy cannot control towns through brute force, you may be able to hold these towns as long as you keep support for your faction high. Although in the early game, you may find this difficult due to the government's monopoly on radio towers. Radio towers, as mentioned before, give a passive bonus of +1 to your support and -1 to the enemy support to whoever controls it. They also may be able to jam your communications if you are using the Task Force radio mod. Radio towers should be one of your first targets. You will not be able to take them in the early game, so it is best to destroy them instead. 2 demolition charges is more than enough to level the radio tower. That will make it much easier for you to gain the people's trust once their radio tower is destroyed. Radio towers are usually protected by enemy outposts. Outposts are fortified, heavily garrisoned positions placed around critical towns and assets. They will usually have an arsenal box filled with equipment in the middle of the outpost. This may seem appetizing to newer players to try and steal the ammo box, but I would not recommend this. As I said, it is heavily garrisoned and fortified, so you will most likely die trying to retrieve said ammo box. I would recommend avoiding outposts until you are confident you can hold one, and be prepared for a tough fight when you do try and take one on. Resources. Resources give the occupier a flat amount of income per tick. They are generally undefended, with only a few soldiers on guard, usually indoors. So they are easy to take in the early game, but as with most military assets, they're impossible to hold. Factories. While resources give a flat amount of income, factories multiply it. Like resources, they are generally undefended and easy to take over. Before you consider taking a factory, take some resources. Factories are only viable when combined with resource income. Seaports are adequately defended ports that allow the enemy to buy naval vehicles. Capturing a seaport gives a flat 10% decrease to the cost of all vehicles. Airbases. Airbases work as the enemy headquarters. This is where all enemy air reinforcements will be dispatched from. Airbases are the strongest of the enemy zones and hold multiple high-value vehicles such as IFVs, APCs, attack helicopters, jets, and more. The amount of enemies in an airbase alone will mean you will not be able to take one until the mid or late game. Taking an airbase will allow you to spawn in any air vehicles you may have captured, and you may fast travel to any airbase you have taken. Airbases also affect the enemy's garrisons. The more airbases you take, the weaker their garrisons become. You cannot take an airbase until you are at war level 3 or above. And that concludes this video. I worked hard on this one, so thank you for watching. I am going to try and post a new video every 2 or 3 days, so stay tuned. And lastly, if you enjoyed, please like, subscribe, and comment below. See you next time. Peace.